So many of you are blocking yourselves because you're not actually giving yourself permission to earn a lot of money, right? You might be giving yourself permission to earn just a little bit or barely enough, right? Or kind of like scrape by and inch by. But what I want to really encourage you to step into and claim is that you are allowed to be massively compensated for your good work. What is your biggest pricing issue? I've had a lot of comments come up like, how much should I charge, Alexandra? I don't know how to price my work, or I feel really guilty charging for this. And, are people going to think I'm greedy? And these are big money blocks, right? These are the type of money blocks that keep us from offering our work, from sharing our work, from actually getting out there with our message, getting out there with our products, getting out there with our services. And so I want to help you avoid these mistakes. How much does it cost? And really, this is one of the hardest questions for women entrepreneurs often to answer, because they don't want to get it wrong, right? We don't want to overprice it. We don't want to underprice it. We don't want to feel like people are going to think badly about us because we're greedy, right? All of the money blocks come up when we talk about pricing our work, right? All of our own baggage around money comes up as we get into pricing our work. And so that's why I wanted to have this conversation. What I want to also tell you is that to be in business, you have to actually generate a profit. To be in business, you have to generate a profit. Otherwise, you are volunteering, right? You have a hobby. You have what would be called a nonprofit, right? And so actually running a business means that you are generating revenue, and your revenue ideally is more than your expenses. And so you are generating a profit. So guess what? Not only are you allowed to charge money for the work that you do, or the products that you do, that you offer, or the services that you have, but you're actually allowed to make a profit. I am allowed to make a profit, right? I'm allowed to benefit from my work. I'm allowed to be massively successful. And it's really important that you give yourself this permission. And I want to start with this as the beginning of this conversation, because so many of you are blocking yourselves because you're not actually giving yourself permission to earn a lot of money, right? You might be giving yourself permission to earn just a little bit or barely enough, right? Or kind of like scrape by and inch by. But what I want to really encourage you to step into and claim is that you are allowed to be massively compensated for your good work, right? To really get into the vibe of people love to pay you for your services and your work because they're needed, right? Because you are an expert for somebody else and they don't have what you have, and they actually need what you have to offer, whether that's a service or a product. So here's what's the deal. I just want to remind us all as we start this conversation to stop undervaluing our work, to stop second guessing our talents, to stop letting other people dictate what it is that we think we should be charging for our work, and just to really step into this place of owning that your time is valuable, your creativity is valuable, your gifts are valuable, your talents are important, and what it is that you have to bring to the world is uniquely yours, and it's needed, it's important, it's valuable. And so not allowing anybody else's opinion or thoughts to convince us to lower our prices, right? Or to convince us to devalue our work in some way, right? So that's what I want to say. This conversation is all about positioning yourself to thrive and really coming from a service-based place, right? Because all of us here in this group are heart-centered entrepreneurs, right? If you're in this community, it's because that you want to be of service, right? And you want to make an impact. So let's talk about the top 3 pricing mistakes that I would really love to see everybody avoiding as we get into this. So I've worked with hundreds and hundreds of women, and there are a few different things that come up time and time again as really the big issues for pricing. And the first one is this idea that I call pricing by committee. And pricing by committee is really just asking other people, what should I charge? How much should I charge for this? And what I have found in that is that it's truly an innocent mistake. Most women think that they're being inclusive, or that they're being collaborative, or that they're harnessing the wisdom of others. But what you don't realize is that it can be an incredibly dangerous practice, and that oftentimes the folks that you might be asking for their opinion in terms of how much should this cost or what should I charge, they really aren't your ideal customer. They don't actually have the knowledge. They don't have they're not the person who's going to invest in this with you. And also, every time that you reach out and you price your work by committee, what you're doing is you're taking on everybody else's money beliefs into that pricing strategy. And I just want to tell you that you don't need that baggage. Likely you're bringing your own money blocks, you're bringing your own money beliefs to this. And so that's just energy that you don't need to carry, right? They may think, oh, well, that's too expensive because they've got a block towards investing in themselves. And so, they would never pay that. But guess what? They're not your customer to begin with. So even if they have an opinion, it may not be the opinion that is most valuable to you. And truly, your own opinion is the most valuable, right? So no pricing by committee. Really tune in, and the solution that I have for you here is to just tune in. Really think about what can you comfortably get around for a price if you have a program or a course or a particular product that you're offering or a service that you do, right? What can you comfortably get yourself around? There's a term, and I can't remember who says it, but she says, you have to get comfortable in your money shoes, right? It's sort of like when you have a new pair of shoes, sometimes it takes like a day or two to break them in. And then once you get comfortable in those, then you can sort of upgrade to a new pair, right? So, and I've seen this with lots of the different clients that I've worked with, where, you might start at a certain price because that's what feels comfortable. And then as you get comfortable with that and you feel like, okay, I can really get around a different price, then you might up level that price to something else, right? But you have to get comfortable around it, because if you are not comfortable, your customer will sense that, right? If you are having a hard time spitting out the amount, or it's not something that you would invest in yourself, probably not going to work. So trust yourself to choose the right price, and don't price by committee. Trust yourself. Okay. The second big thing that I see is folks actually undercharging and over delivering. And there's kind of two pieces to this. One is that it's just a recipe for burnout and frustration. Maybe you have the block that you're worried that it's too expensive, or you're afraid that you might leave people behind. But, or you feel guilty for overcharging, right? You don't want to be charging people for your work, and you have some guilt around actually even charging for your service. So notice if any of those things are you, and if, that's being reflected inside of your pricing. Because what I want to say here is that, whether it's, the first one or the second one or the third one for you, when you're not actually charging the right price with your work, you're actually not doing anyone any favors, least of all yourself. And so here's what happens. When people buy something that's, where you haven't appropriately placed the value on it in terms of the cost of it, they don't value it either. And because they're taking on the energy that you've given it. And so if you've undervalued it, they're going to undervalue it too, which means that they may not actually show up as committed to do that work. And so here's the thing, when you actually value your work appropriately, others value it too. And then they actually decide to invest in themselves, and they take it more seriously. Also, it's just a fact that, people invest in what they pay for, right? And people value what they pay for, right? And people will always find money to pay for the things that they value, right? If something feels really important and it's a skill or a course or a program that they feel like is going to, or a product that they feel like is going to add massive value to their experience, then they're going to buy it, right? And The deal is that you actually want those types of customers. You want those people who are really committed, who want to invest, who want to come to the table, who actually want to be with you in whatever it is that you're offering, right? Because those are the people who are ready and willing to do the work. And guess what? They're going to be a lot more fun to work with. They're going to be a lot more fun to have as clients and as customers. So bottom line, your pricing really needs to reflect the value. Some of you also are falling into the trap of not charging at all. And so if that's the case, really it may be time to graduate from, the intern position of being unpaid and not charging for your work to actually charging the right price for your work, right? And it may be that you just started something new and you're in the place where, you're testing it out and you've got some beta people. I would personally recommend not ever doing that. I feel like that is just sort of, it's a misalignment of energy, and that there needs to be an energetic exchange, right? That's what money is. It's just a currency. It's an energy. And so it's a way for money to exchange for one good and service, right? And so charge for your work, right? Some of you sell products and maybe you're buying, thousands of free samples and sending them out. Maybe you're paying for everybody's free shipping, right? Those would be examples also of ways that it's sort of a sneaky tendency to give your work away for free comes into play. So notice that. Everybody here, I would say 99% of you, if you haven't done a pricing review of your work in the last 6 months, definitely get on it. If you're like 6 months or over, it's probably time for a pricing review. There are programs that every time I have launched them, I have increased the price. And I've let people know that up front, this is your opportunity and it won't ever be this price again. And I'm serious about it until I've landed on the price that has felt energetically right, intuitively correct, right? And in alignment with where it needs to be for the value that it provides. So really noticing if you are either giving your work away for free or undercharging, it may be time to evaluate that. Okay, the third tip that I have here, and the big pricing mistake, is just what I would call random pricing versus actually being strategic. And so this comes about because it's actually a pretty simple formula for how to determine, what the pricing should be for your work and how to value your work. But most things, we tend to overcomplicate it. And I want to just, be really direct about how to do the math, and to say to you that you actually have to do the math, right? You have to work it out and understand, if you charge a certain price, is that actually going to get you to your goal? So the first step is that you actually have to set a goal. You have to know, how much money do you want to make from a particular product or a particular service, or something that you're offering, and then back it out and figure out what's it going to take to get there. So first, identify what your actual goal is and how much revenue you want to be generating, and then determine, how many items do you need to sell, or how many of those particular products do you need to sell, or how much, packages of that service, or how many people need to sign up for that course in order for you to get to that number, right? So for example, if you had a goal of making $10,000 from a particular service or a product, right, you could charge $100 and have 100 people go through it, right, and get yourself to that goal. Or you could charge $1,000 and have 10 people that you recruit and, sell that product or service to and still get to your goal. Or you could have one person buy a high ticket item and still get your goal, right? So it's just going to depend. The pricing is going to depend really on, what's the business model that you want to be adopting, right? Do you want to be in a volume business where you have hundreds of customers, or do you want to be a high ticket, premium price kind of offering that you're putting out there where, you just have to go find one of those people to reach your goal, right? Or you somewhere in between, right? There's no right or wrong answer, but you actually have to do the math to understand, what is it that you're taking on when you price your work? And is that actually the model that you want to go into, right? Does that business model actually work for your life? Does that pricing strategy actually take you to fulfilling your goals in a way that feels really satisfying and full of flow and full of alignment? So I would just say that it takes the same amount of energy to get the $100 client as it does the $1,000 client as it does the $10,000 client. Really, there's no difference in expenditure of energy. And so I would even argue that it might even be easier, honestly, to pre-qualify your leads, especially at that higher ticket offers. They might actually be easier to sell, because if you've done the pre-qualification and you have really, done your messaging in such a way that you're calling in the people who would be in alignment with that offer, then they're probably already at the place where it's going to be an easy yes for them to invest. So those are really the big nuggets that I wanted to give you today. That pricing by committee, undercharging, over delivering, or giving your work away for free. And then finally, not being strategic in your pricing. Those are the big pricing mistakes that I see the most coming up and really blocking women from, positioning themselves in a place to thrive. And I hope that this conversation has been super helpful for you. I would love to hear from you in the comments. There's been lots of comments coming through. More fun equals more energy. Yes, there needs to be an energetic exchange. Value equals sales and profit.